What's going on? It's Saturday and I'm getting healthy again. As some of you viewers know, I was afflicted by a cold here over the last week or so, and it was hard for me to talk. That's why I sounded so different on the podcast. Also, why I sounded a little bit different on the YouTube live on Monday. And I have to be honest, I was struggling a little bit through it. I'd go into these coughing attacks every 5 minutes on the YouTube live on Monday. So that's why you might have noticed that there were little pauses or little blips because I had to edit out the coughs afterwards in iMovie. Didn't go live. I pre-recorded, got over the sickness, still got some content up for you after that 49ers win over the Rams, which was a huge victory for the team. So hopefully, for my throat's sake here, because I fought through some stuff, you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Go ahead and do that right now. Those of you watching on Twitter, make sure you do that. And those of you watching on YouTube, make sure you follow on Twitter at Lombardi himself. We are here to talk 49ers, Jaguars. Kickoff is less than 24 hours away. 49ers are favored by 6.5 points. This is a game that they should win, but the NFL is weird this year. So, I mean, you have to look no further than a couple weeks ago when Jacksonville beat the Buffalo Bills 9-6. And the Buffalo Bills obviously have a good all-around team. Jacksonville and that defense found a way to get it done. So look no further than that to realize that this is no gimme. On top of the fact that this is an early body clock start for the 49ers on the East Coast, 10 a.m. Pacific time. Those games just statistically are tougher for West Coast teams to win. And it's in a stadium in which the 49ers have never won before. One of the most horrific memories of the dynastic 49ers came in Jacksonville, the very first time they played the Jaguars, season opener, 1999. Mark Brunell, remember that name? Lefty quarterback, wore number 8. He was mobile, reminded a lot of people of a poor man Steve Young. Well, Mark Brunell and the Jaguars beat the 49ers 41-3 to open that 1999 season. And as history would have it, that was Steve Young's final loss. 49ers would beat the Saints at Candlestick the next week, 28-21, but then Steve Young would suffer his final concussion against the Arizona Cardinals in week 3. That was also a game the 49ers won, but he would never play again. That was the last the 49ers saw of Steve Young. Now, in that 41-3 loss to Jacksonville to open that 1999 season, 49ers were getting beaten so badly that Jeff Garcia came in to replace Steve Young at the end, and Jeff Garcia threw a pick 6. We next saw Jeff Garcia in that week 3 game after Steve Young suffered the concussion. That was a hit from Aeneas Williams on a missed block from Lawrence Phillips, one of the worst 49ers in history, obviously. But Jeff Garcia came back in. 49ers held on for the win over Arizona. And then Jeff Garcia played in a week 4 win over the Tennessee Titans. The 49ers won that game 24-22 to improve to 3-1 over a Titans team that ended up going to the Super Bowl that year and losing by a yard to the Los Angeles Rams. That was Kevin Dyson, right? Reaching out there at the goal line, all for naught, but the greatest show on turf beat the Titans that year. So if you just looked at that 49ers season through the first 4 weeks, they were 3-1. Yes, they had lost Steve Young, but Jeff Garcia had been good enough to lead them past the Titans. It looked like the 49ers might be okay, right? No, that wasn't the case. They went on to drop like 8 or 9 straight games, and they ended up going 4-12. The dynasty was over. So Steve Young's last loss came at Jacksonville. The 49ers have never won in the stadium. They did beat the Jaguars on the road, technically, in 2013, but that was in London. And I did not do this on purpose, but I'm drinking tea right now, and it's a London coffee mug, or teacup, I guess you could say. I think it's a coffee mug, and it's too hot for me to properly display it. I think it says my mom went to London, and all I got was this lousy mug. But the 49ers went to London in 2013, and all they got was a lousy win over the Jacksonville Jaguars. That was a terrible Jaguars team. But that was also the only time the 49ers have beaten the Jaguars away from home. So they got to change something. And obviously, all different players this time than the last time they played the Jaguars away from home in 2013. But something needs to change. Now, it's not all different players than the last time that the 49ers beat the Jaguars at home, and that was in 2017. I think a lot of people remember that game. It was a big deal for these current Kyle Shanahan 49ers as far as turning the ship around. That was the season that the 49ers began 0-8 and then 1-10, and they finished 6-10. 49ers in 2017 became the first team in NFL history to start the season 1-10 and finish at 6-10 with 5 straight wins. It was a dramatic reversal, and most of it came courtesy Jimmy Garoppolo after he started playing after coming over from that trade. Quick question right here. I know this is the last road game that I'm not going to this year. Matt Barrows has it. We split the non-divisional games. We both go to the NFC West road games, and Barrows really, really wanted to go to Jacksonville. Don't ask me why. He really wanted to go to Jacksonville. And you know why? I think he wanted to go to Jacksonville because it's one of the few NFL stadiums that he has not covered a game in yet. Because in 2013, as we said, when the 49ers were last scheduled to play a road game against Jacksonville, that happened in London. So Barrows really wanted Jacksonville. I was totally fine with that because I went to Chicago. Chicago was a great time all weekend. My girlfriend came into town. We went out for drinks with Greg Papa, 49ers radio announcer, and George Kontos met us as well. Former Giants pitcher. George Kontos is Chicago raised, and he now lives in Chicago after his retirement. So I had an awesome time in Chicago, a lot better time than I would ever have in Jacksonville. But all power to Barrows. He's in Jacksonville right now. He wanted to be there, and I'm sure he's enjoying the 78-degree weather or whatever it's going to be. It's going to be a little humid, right, tomorrow. It's going to be humid, 78. Probably not good for the Alex Mack butt sweat that Jimmy Garoppolo likes to talk about. But speaking of Jimmy Garoppolo, he turned it around in that 2017 season for the 49ers, and the win over Jacksonville on Christmas Eve was a monumental one. Because remember, that was a Jaguars team that went by the way, that 1999 Jaguars team lost to the Tennessee Titans in the AFC Championship game. That was Mark Brunell and Jimmy Smith. I mean, that was a good Jacksonville football team, right? Those were good teams. Mark Brunell, very underrated in my opinion. I love watching that guy play back when I was young. But speaking of other Jacksonville teams that lost in the AFC title game, the 2017 Jaguars also lost in the AFC title game, and they led late against the Patriots, and Tom Brady came back on them. And then Brady obviously took it all the way to the Super Bowl in that 2017 season. And I believe, who did he beat in 2017? Was that – no, I won the Falcons because Brady lost in 2017 in the Super Bowl. Yeah, the Eagles won that year. So anyway, the Jaguars in the AFC title game, the year that the 49ers were 4-10 at the time on Christmas Eve, ran up 44 points on Jacksonville's number 1 ranked defense, 44-33. Another fun fact is that's the only time a game in NFL history has finished with the final score of 44-33. Score-gami, they call it, right? Only time it's ever happened. 49ers over the Jaguars, 44-33 in 2017. Jimmy was awesome in that game. 49ers defense was opportunistic. Dante Johnson had a pick 6 of Blake Bortles. That was the weak link of that Jacksonville team. They had the number 1 defense, and they had Jalen Ramsey, who was really upset after that loss. He was also upset after the loss last Monday. But aside from that number 1 defense, the Jaguars had Blake Bortles playing quarterback, and he threw a couple picks against the 49ers. K'Wan Williams had a beautiful one-handed pick. That was the first career interception for K'Wan. Jimmy Garoppolo had a quarterback sneak, I believe, on a 4th down for a touchdown. Garoppolo had the amazing kind of sidearm throw on the move to Trent Taylor for a touchdown in the red zone. And Kyle Shanahan, after that game, called Jimmy Garoppolo a human jugs machine. Shanahan was very complimentary of how Garoppolo is always just ready to throw, fire away from any angle. And the reason I bring this up is not only because this is the next 49ers game against the Jaguars, but Jimmy Garoppolo has started to show what the 49ers completely fell in love with in 2017 again. His last 3 games have been really, really good. a lot of that gets lost in the complete nightmare that was the Cardinals game, the Kafka-esque nightmare, if you will. And the reason that was a nightmare is because everybody played like crap except for Jimmy Garoppolo in general for the 49ers. The whole team, no show, right? You might add a couple plays here and there from Ayuk, maybe from Kittle, but those guys fumbled as well. The defense was atrocious. Bosa's always good, so he's always exempt to this kind of stuff. But Bosa's always good. But the whole 49ers team, just outside of Jimmy Garoppolo, just didn't show up, right? But if you actually look at Jimmy's play in a vacuum between Chicago to Arizona to this past week against the Rams, he's been one of the best quarterbacks in football. He was one of the best quarterbacks in football over that 5-game stretch in 2017, which was highlighted by that win over the Jaguars and their number 1 ranked defense. So the biggest hope for the 49ers moving forward at this point as they try to move back to 500, and they're obviously in playoff contention already because the NFC is, and the NFL in general is just wild. The biggest hope for this football team, because the defense minus Javon Kinlaw, minus DeForest Buckner, if you're going to mention Kinlaw, minus Jason Verrett, minus some of these important names, minus D Ford, the defense is not going to be the 2019 unit. You're not going to be able to execute the 2019 formula. But you can get above average defensive play. You can get opportunistic defensive play. And that's what the 49ers did against the Rams. So their hope is that they get opportunistic above average defensive play and they pair it with a really, really good Jimmy Garoppolo and a really good offense. And right now, the 49ers offense, per the DVOA from Football Outsiders, is number 3 in all football. So you have to like that formula for the 49ers. And the reason you have to like it is because it's your only way to reach the Super Bowl this year. And I think everybody's goal is to reach the Super Bowl this year, as it should be. There's so much parity in the NFL. Nobody knows who's going to beat who on a week-to-week basis. So if you have a team that can beat the Rams by 3 touchdowns, your goal should be the Super Bowl. There's no punting the season early. The 49ers' goal is the Super Bowl. Their ticket to get there is good play from Jimmy Garoppolo, amongst other things. Okay, so I want to go through some of the keys for this Jaguars game. First, the NFL is weird. And because the NFL is weird, you cannot take Jacksonville lightly. I just mentioned that the Jaguars beat the Bills 9-6 a few weeks ago. That means they can beat anybody, especially a 49ers team, traveling cross country on a short week for a 10 a.m. game. That doesn't line up well for the 49ers. Now, what does line up well for the 49ers is this. This is the Jaguars team profile. Red is bad and blue is good. I could zoom in a little bit more on it, but top third, that's too far. Top third is offense, middle third is defense, bottom third is special teams and overall DVOA. Offense overall bad. Pass offense for the Jaguars also bad, 28. But look what they do well. Run offense, second in the league as far as efficiency goes. Look at the defense now. 28th, bad. Pass defense, 31st, bad. But look at what they do well. Run defense, 7th in the league, well above average. It all adds up to 28th in the league. But notice there are 2 things the Jaguars do well. Overall, the 49ers are not playing a great football team. You could see that very, very clearly from this DVOA chart. But they're playing a football team in the Jaguars that does specific things well, namely run the football and stop the run. And that's danger zone for the 49ers because the Jaguars continue doing those 2 things well. They will have a chance to win this game. So those are 2 flashpoints where the 49ers need to win this football game. So let's look at the first one. The Jaguars run the ball well. James Robinson is one of the best young backs in football. I love watching James Robinson play. All-purpose back, undrafted free agent in 2020, immediately set the NFL record for all-purpose yards for an undrafted rookie his first year. And the advanced analytics love both James Robinson and 49ers rookie running back Elijah Mitchell. Both of those guys gain more yards than you would expect out of a running back. They are both plus contributors. Now, neither of these 2 guys may play. James Robinson's questionable. He's had a heel injury and a knee injury that's been bothering him. And Elijah Mitchell's doubtful with the finger injury. So, unfortunately, one of the things I was really looking forward to when I saw this game approaching on the schedule against the Jaguars was a matchup of 2 of the really young exciting running backs in the league. Unfortunately, both of those guys may be out. What does that mean for the Jaguars offense? Well, it means that Carlos Hyde might be their primary running back. Now, Carlos Hyde, the last time that we saw him in a 49ers uniform in a game that involved the Jacksonville Jaguars, he's predicting that the 49ers would win the Super Bowl. After the Christmas Eve game in 2017, when the 49ers were all glowing about Jimmy Garoppolo, Kyle Shanahan was calling him a human jugs machine, and the 49ers were well on their way to a 5-0 finish. We walk up to Carlos Hyde in the 49ers locker room, and he says, "We're going to win the Super Bowl next year." Just out of nowhere. But it really wasn't out of nowhere, right? And yes, the prediction didn't end up coming true. In 2018, the 49ers went 4-12, but the main reason they went 4-12 was because Garoppolo tore his ACL. I think Hyde saw something with the 49ers team chemistry and the direction they were headed at the end of 2017. And give him credit, the 49ers went to the Super Bowl and surprised a lot of people when everybody actually at the key positions was healthy the following season, 2019. So give Carlos Hyde some credit because they didn't win the Super Bowl, but he's the one that kind of predicted the rise first in 2017. Since that moment, Carlos Hyde has played for like 5 different teams, including 2 separate stints with the Jaguars, one in 2018, one here in 2021. And if James Robinson doesn't play, Carlos Hyde is going to be the guy that's going to get a bulk of the carries. And we know the 49ers run defense, especially up the middle, hasn't been great. We also know that Carlos Hyde can run the inside zone. And we know that with Trevor Lawrence and a college kind of style offense with Urban Meyer trying to work stuff for Trevor Lawrence to be comfortable, we know that the inside zone is going to be something that happens from Jacksonville. So the 49ers need to stiffen up on the inside. I thought that the 49ers getting ahead against the Rams early was huge. 14-0 lead almost right away. The Rams didn't establish a run game, and the 49ers defense can be flimsy, especially without Javon Kinlaw when the opposition is trying to gash the inside. We know that Carlos Hyde, with proper blocking, can give you trouble on some of those inside runs. So assuming James Robinson doesn't play, and if he does, that's great for the Jaguars because they have both him and Hyde. But assuming Robinson doesn't play, look out for those interior runs for Carlos Hyde. And that's going to put a lot of pressure on Eric Armstead, who's playing a lot of defensive tackle now. Going to put a lot of pressure on Contavious Street, who's coming off a decent game against the Rams. It's going to put a lot of pressure on the 49ers to stiffen up on the interior. They didn't have to do it against the Rams because they got ahead on the scoreboard. And maybe that's going to happen again. Maybe the 49ers can jump out to a big lead, get the Jaguars out of the run game. But if this game stays close early on, the 49ers offense sputters out of the gate, look out for that blue up here. Look out for that blue that is the Jaguars run offense. They're the best first down run team in the National Football League. I'm serious about this. The Jaguars rank number 1 in rushing DVOA on first down, number 2 rushing DVOA overall. Trevor Lawrence can take off with his feet as well. You have to force the Jaguars to beat you with Trevor Lawrence. And here's the thing with Trevor Lawrence. I wasn't the biggest fan of his coming out of the draft. And here's why. I liked him as a quarterback, but not as a surefire number 1 pick. You know, I was at that national title game watching as a fan, Clemson, Alabama at Levi Stadium a couple years ago. And Lawrence carved up Alabama, and that's great. I mean, he looked like he was going to be a pro quarterback. Nobody's denying that. But what got me were the surefire Andrew Luck comparisons between Lawrence and obviously the former Stanford prospect Andrew Luck, who is now retired. Everybody knew that Andrew Luck was going to be good coming out of college, and it was obvious when you looked at his mechanics. Trevor Lawrence has the ability to make all the throws. He has the ability to make all the runs. He's smart. He has all of that except for a slightly gangly windup. In my opinion, he had a little too much of a college read option style windup that was not nearly as pro-ready and compact as Andrew Luck. So I always thought that, yeah, this guy's maybe a good quarterback. He probably, given the right system in the NFL, is going to have a nice career. Okay, pick him first. But what bothered me was he's the next Andrew Luck. Because to me, Trevor Lawrence clearly was never the next Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck was more, less frequent than a generational talent, with the polish that he had coming off of play action and the polish that he had with the release. So anyway, long story short, Trevor Lawrence still has that same issue, in my opinion. Still takes him a little while to get rid of the football, going to the sidelines. So you have to make him beat you on your terms if you're the 49ers defense. If the Jaguars are running the ball and Trevor Lawrence can play on his terms, he has the ability, he has the arm strength, and he has the mobility to make life living hell for you. He is a talented quarterback, but he's still a rookie. And if you play this game downhill as the defense for the 49ers and make Trevor Lawrence play this game uphill, you see the numbers right here. There's a reason the Jaguars are a low efficiency losing football team. It's because they don't do enough well in the passing game. You can't let Trevor Lawrence in this passing attack get hot by playing this game downhill. So key number one, biggest key for the 49ers is stop the Jaguars' interior run. Now, you often hear me say that the best defense is a good offense. And that was the case for the 49ers last week against the Rams. So let's take a look at these splits again. Jaguars, bad against the pass. Bad in turnover differential. They're not forcing a lot of takeaways, but they're good against the run. And this could be a potential pitfall for the 49ers. This is where the 49ers have to be really, really careful. Elijah Mitchell's doubtful, so he's probably not going to play. So you have what? Jeff Wilson, Trey Sermon. Those are your two de facto running backs. We saw how important it is, and we knew this already, but we were reminded of it against the Rams, how important it is for the 49ers to punish teams on the ground. Running the football might not be the 49ers' most efficient play. It wasn't efficient against the Rams. I mean, the 49ers were most efficient passing the ball against the Rams, right? Jimmy Garoppolo, 9.6 per attempt, only 18 or 19 attempts. On the ground, the 49ers, it was 3 yards in a cloud of dust. But you can't measure this stuff only on the stat sheet. The effect of a bruising running game demoralizes teams. Did you guys see Juszczyk just plow 51 straight into the ground, Rams linebacker? I can guarantee you that 51 was not nearly as confident, or I guarantee he wasn't the same as he was before Juszczyk just trucked him into the ground. And that was on a play that gained 0 yards. So a play that was technically inefficient was still a net positive for the 49ers. So it's important to get that rushing attack going to set the tone of a game in your favor. So can Jeff Wilson get it done for the 49ers? Well, they relied on him last year in 2020 against the New England Patriots, and he got it done. He also got hurt in that game. They relied on him in Week 16 and against the Arizona Cardinals, and he got it done in that game. So Jeff Wilson's a capable back, but he's a different back than Elijah Mitchell. So 49ers are going to have to punish inside in this game. He's not your prototypical outside zone back. He is a punisher that runs the inside zone, maybe even some gap scheme kind of stuff. So we'll see if the 49ers run that. Remember, they're still trying to mask the loss of Mike McGlinchey on the right side. So you're going to have Jalen Moore in all likelihood there on the right side. And you want to make him comfortable. He's a rookie. So you have to get that running game off to a good start. Trey Sermon, great opportunity for him to continue earning more favor with the 49ers. There obviously hasn't been all too much of it yet because they still think, and I think they're right, that Elijah Mitchell and Jeff Wilson are better options than Trey Sermon. But he's going to be called upon in this game as the 49ers' second running back, especially with Jeff Wilson still gradually, I think, building his workload back up after missing a lot of time. So it's not going to be an easy matchup. 49ers need to neutralize Josh Allen, who's a very good pass rusher. He also plays well against the run for Jacksonville. Just a talented guy at the defensive end position. Same draft class as Nick Bosa. So the game plan has to neutralize Josh Allen and has to utilize the fact that the 49ers likely won't have Elijah Mitchell to really stretch the field with that outside zone. So there's a big spotlight on the 49ers offensive line. There's a big spotlight on the auxiliary blockers. Big spotlight on Jeff Wilson. Probably a big spotlight on Trey Sermon. But guess where the spotlight is the biggest? I'll give you a couple seconds as I drink tea. Got to nurse the voice. The biggest spotlight's on Jimmy Garoppolo. The reason the 49ers run game was punishing and had a chance to be punishing against the Rams because Jimmy Garoppolo delivered on third down. The money down, the quarterback's down, whatever you call it. 49ers at one point in that game before it went to garbage time were 9 of 13 on third and fourth downs. Jimmy Garoppolo has been the second most efficient quarterback in the NFL this season on third downs. Jimmy Garoppolo has been the second most efficient quarterback in the National Football League since 2017 on third down, behind only Patrick Mahomes. That is his bread and butter when he's healthy and when he's going well. And that's going to have to be the 49ers' bread and butter in this game against Jacksonville. Now, it's funny. The 49ers' offensive splits are crazy. DVOA, first down, they're number one in the league. First down passing, let me say. First down passing, 49ers number one in the league. Third and fourth down passing, number two in the league, as I said. Second down, they're number 28. I don't know if that's an aberration, probably a little bit of that. But they go from one to 28, back up to number one. So I guess 1 to 28 to 1. First down, second down, third and fourth downs. They need to even that out. They need to be a bit better on second down passing. So that's up to Garoppolo, it's up to McDaniel, it's up to Shanahan, it's up to everybody. But the point is that the 49ers have been passing the ball well at key junctures over the last 3 games, 100%. You can talk all you want about the volatility and the inconsistency earlier in the season, but there was still good stuff there. There was a dominant stretch against Philadelphia. There was a dominant second half against Green Bay offensively. Indianapolis was the rain game. Seattle and Arizona were injury-compromised games at quarterback, right? But over the past 3 games, Garoppolo's been money on third down, especially when the 49ers haven't been fumbling the ball after long catches. So you take the Rams blueprint, you execute on third down, Jimmy to Debo, Jimmy to Ayuk against the bad Jacksonville secondary, and you set yourself up to punish a good run defense. If that Jacksonville run defense can play this game on its terms, the 49ers will be in trouble because they're a good run defense. That will mean that Jimmy Garoppolo's not getting the job done, pass offense not getting the job done. But I see more of the same as we saw last week. I see a quick strike pass offense loosening up for the 49ers running attack, making it possible for long drives to happen. Now, later in the game, the Rams made an adjustment. They went with 6 down defensive linemen against the 49ers last week. That started to make the run game really tough sledding. I don't think the 49ers really needed to show too much downfield. But remember, against Arizona, the passes downfield, they threw a bit further. And it was working. Ayuk worked. Kittle worked. The fumbles happened. Do not let those fumbles dissuade you that the 49ers, of the 49ers' ability to pass downfield. They can, right? Against Chicago, they're passing downfield. They're beating these 6-man fronts when they come that are daring them to throw the ball. I think Jacksonville's going to go to a 6-man front sooner rather than later in this game. You also have to factor in the 49ers likely won't have Elijah Mitchell. So this may really be a dare you to pass game. And if that's the case, you're going to see Garoppolo throw more of those deeper intermediate routes. You're going to see maybe a couple deep balls, but it's going to be up to Jalen Moore at right tackle and Daniel Brunskill at right guard to hold up. The loss of Mike McGlinchey hurt because he was pass blocking well this year. So there are going to be multiple ways for the 49ers to win this game because they're the better team than the Jaguars. But there are limited ways in which the Jaguars can upset them. And the 49ers need to make sure that those small, limited ways don't become the prevailing part of how this game flows. That's the key. So if it's a 6-man front from Jacksonville, Garoppolo and the offensive line have to deliver a bit further downfield. If Jacksonville's not moving to a 6-man front, it's Jeff Wilson time. He needs to churn those yards, and then Jimmy needs to come through on third down. The one wild card in this game, in my opinion, might be some Trey Lance situational play. And that's how I'm going to end this little discussion because we haven't seen Trey in a while. But with Trey, there's a couple things here that may make Shanahan go situationally to him more. First of all, let me address why Trey Lance hasn't played situationally lately. If you followed me since the start of the year, I've been very consistent. You could get misinformation from elsewhere, but if you get your information from this channel, from my Twitter, from The Athletic, preferred all those places, you knew that Garoppolo was going to start for the 49ers and Lance was going to be used situationally all year. Haven't wavered from that. That's been the plan, right? So Trey Lance is the quarterback for the 49ers that can come in situationally if they need a boost in the run game and if they need a boost in the deep pass game. I would not be surprised if you had Trey Lance come in for a couple, I wouldn't call them gadget plays, but something that helps the 49ers run the ball and something that might surprise the Jaguars with a throw downfield. So I think the 49ers are going to win this game, but I think that it's a dangerous one. 10 a.m. start Sunday in the East Coast. It's not going to be easy if the Jaguars can play it on their terms. So look for the 49ers to try to play this one downhill, and those are the keys for it. Anyway, everybody follow the YouTube channel or subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow me on Twitter. It's been great. I made it through drank all my tea, and now I'm going to go rest my voice. Not doing this road trip, but I'll be at all the other ones. Everybody take care. We'll do another live where I answer all your questions later. There were some good questions here, but I got to get going now. So everybody take care.